Here we go, everyone. This is Formula One. Incredible! What a move! Chaos. And he's done it!
It's a moment I will never ever forget.
Yesterday it was 6 career poles. Today it is 6 career wins for teenager and leader of the World Championship, Kimi Antonelli. He did so in style, chased down by Charles Leclerc in a race in which his teammate and championship rival, George Russell, crashed out. Max Verstappen made his way onto the podium at a race he likes to call home. What a Belgian Grand Prix we have seen. Let's get stuck into it, shall we? This is your post-race show. And look at the track invasion. Behind us, sitting here on the Paddock Club roof, the fans have fled from the grandstands and onto the track itself, running down to get any glimpse they can and grab any bit of hoarding, I'd imagine, as well. Juan Pablo Montoya and Alex Brundle are here with me to digest and analyse all we have seen, and that was quite the race. So much to discuss. We'll start, though, with number one, and that is Kimi Antonelli.
I mean, it's a measure of how much speed that he had, that he ended up racing with Charles Leclerc when Charles Leclerc had pitted under the VSC and got a much cheaper pit stop than Antonelli.
Fresher tires.
Exactly, and you know, with all of that strategic advantage, you're still dealing with a scenario where Antonelli has passed and taken the win.
He was pushing and pushing hard. 2 strikes of track limits. Bono had to come over the radio and say, we've had 2, we do not want any more. 4 would have seen a 5-second penalty. So he was still on it, wasn't he?
He's on it, but he has so much control. He has so much speed that he's within his comfort zone. He doesn't need to get out of his comfort zone to get the lap time. And who's going to stop him? I don't know. He had everything going against him the last few weeks, even being the fastest guy every week. And, you know, again, top points on pole, dominated all weekend. We need to get to a weekend where we go, oh, he's finally struggling, but it doesn't seem that we're going to find one. You know what I mean? We said high grip, low grip, street course, you know, everything, and he's always there.
The truly impressive thing for me is actually once he'd made the overtake, and it demonstrates Antonelli's understanding of these cars, because we saw how powerful overtake is when you have it over a cumulative number of laps. So Charles Leclerc did very well to stay within that system of Antonelli at the front, but still Antonelli could grind out enough of an advantage to, you know, basically take himself out of that system. And you heard them talking about it in the cool-down room. Things like letting off the brakes to try and be at the detection point a little bit earlier. The management of the race from Antonelli when he's racing wheel-to-wheel like that was really brilliant.
Yeah, it was absolutely spectacular. He's extended his lead in the world standings as well to 45 points over Lewis Hamilton, 50 over teammate George Russell. It was 25 this morning, and George Russell starting P3 will have hoped it certainly wouldn't be looking as big as it is right now. A lot went on in that Belgian Grand Prix. Let's remind you, here are the highlights.
Five red lights in Spa, and the Belgian Grand Prix is underway. Kimi Antonelli with a good launch. It's what he needs at the moment. Max Verstappen trying the wide line. Will that give him launch off the first turn? Charles Leclerc has a run on George Russell, going into Eau Rouge. Max Verstappen has the power. Max Verstappen has the lead into Eau Rouge corner. And Russell and Lewis Hamilton make contact, and Russell is in the gravel. Hamilton on Piastri at the first turn of the racetrack. No hanging around. Max Verstappen with the chance. Does he have the speed? The answer is going to be yes. Your contact between McLaren and Ferrari.
And then it is a little bit naughty from Leclerc. In comes Antonelli. Wow, that was close to the barrier.
Good stop from Mercedes. Norris, his hard-charging Grand Prix continues. He's going to be ahead. There's the Ferrari, there's the control line, and Charles Leclerc is out ahead of Kimi Antonelli. This time he will climb to second place, and it's game on for Grand Prix victory. It's not fast work, and that's costing him horribly here. He's tumbled to the back of the leading pack. Antonelli gets ahead, takes the lead. Antonelli wins the Belgian Grand Prix.
What a race, what a win for Kimi Antonelli. Let's see what the boss thinks, shall we? Toto Wolff is down in the pit lane, jubilant, I'd imagine, with Chris Medland.
Toto, we've got one car that has won the race, one car that was out on the opening lap. It must be a bittersweet day for you at Mercedes.
Yeah, it's obviously super happy for Kimi, and he merits to win. He was strong all weekend. He probably should have won in Silverstone and DNF'd. So that is an absolutely merited win. On the other side, we had a problem with all Mercedes engines at the start, didn't deploy all the power we should have had. It's something which we need to get under control, but as a matter of fact, we have the most powerful engine. Our car performs well, and it's a technical sport. These things can happen.
What do you say to George, though, if you've spoken to him yet, when he's out on the first lap, and he's been talking about having a straight line speed deficit this weekend?
Yeah, that's something hopefully we have sorted, but again, we are racing, straight line speed differences can happen. We're trying to give it our best, and sometimes our best is not good enough, and sometimes it's good enough, but one thing is we are all pushing it so hard.
What did you make of the penalty then that was handed out to Lewis? Any blame apportioned there for that first lap incident?
I don't know, I have to look at it again, who is to blame in that.
And you said yesterday you weren't always so serene when Kimi was on his first qualifying lap, so it didn't go perfectly. Was it a bit tense in the garage there with how close Charles was able to push you today?
Yeah, obviously we thought we have the pace, but then the VSC again overturned it, and Charles was ahead, but then a super mature drive. He just eked away tenths by tenths in every lap, and that was really really good to see.
Does he keep getting better?
Hopefully.
Thanks, Toto.
Well, jubilant about the win maybe for Kimi Antonelli, but actually are there concerns regarding reliability once again for Mercedes? Toto saying there that all Mercedes-powered cars having an issue with deployment off the start. That's the reason that we saw George Russell fall down to around P5, P6 in that gaggle and ultimately tagged contact with Lewis Hamilton and Jens's race in the gravel.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like a massive issue, didn't it, for George Russell? He said already in the pen he was 35 to 40% down on battery. I actually sort of feel a bit bad that we've been looking at his driving style, trying to infer why he's struggling so much, but then Russell gets himself eventually tipped into the gravel by Lewis Hamilton. That, for me, is a racing incident.
No way.
That, for me, is a racing incident. And incidentally, the other person that thinks it's a racing incident is George, who said so in the pen after the race.
Don't. Look, he understeers into him. He completely... If Lewis could have followed the curve, then there would have been an incident. Lewis understeered into him. And is it a racing incident? Yes, but that racing incident deserves a penalty.
I think with George coming from behind on any other lap, that's a penalisable incident. I think on the first lap with everyone with cold tyres, we're gonna differ across the panel
fine.
here. But the stewards agree with the man who's won Formula One Grand Prix. So
but first laps are so often racing incidents, and George himself not apportioning blame. So it's one of those that could have gone 50-50. Therefore,
yeah. The thing is, George was the problem is with my kid racing Formula 2. You got all these incidents and everything. Is George was under control, ahead of Lewis through the corner, and gave Lewis enough room, and Lewis could not hold his line. And the reality of it is Lewis understeered into him. Was it on purpose? No, not at all.
Yeah.
But it still caused the incident. And that's why I think George calls it a racing incident, because it can happen is the first lap. And I understand the way you see it, but the problem is the way the rules are written, that's a penalty.
Yeah, I think George can climb the curb on the left-hand side, so there's a little bit more space inside. What Mercedes will be more worried about is how he ended up losing 4 places on the run down there. He's clearly sitting on the line, JP, with half the battery he needs to do the first lap.
No, the worst part is he thought he was fully charged. And when he looked at a turn 1, he's like, ooh, where did it all go? And I think that's where he's been fighting all weekend. And, you know what I mean? And it's easy from the outside for us to say, oh, maybe the driving, maybe this, maybe that. And George actually said pretty clearly, we have an issue. And the issue really came out there.
yeah, the Mercedes notes on the flag were an unexpected unexpected loss of deployment. Let's go inside the cockpit with George Russell and see what happened.
Not quite sure what to say. It seems like one thing after another at the moment. What can you tell us about the incident with Lewis there and the build-up to it?
Well, it all started from the build-up. I came out of turn 1. For whatever reason, I was 30 to 40% down on my battery, and I just got totally swamped up by 3 cars. Incident with Lewis, yeah, I've not really seen it. I thought probably a racing incident, but I'm not going to blame Lewis. You know, if things were normal, I wouldn't have been even battling with Lewis. I'd have been battling with Kimi and Max ahead.
Touched on the frustrations yesterday that you're feeling. I mean, where do you go from here, George?
Yeah, it's one thing after another, after another, after another. Yeah, not good enough on all regards. So try and reset again. Done it enough times this season, and see what we can do.
Thank you.
I think mentally that's probably the lowest we've seen George Russell so far this season. You could feel the weight of expectation, the favourite tag, and then the reality that's begun to sink in over recent weeks, just bringing him down in that interview in front of us. And will he be happy to see Hungary 4 days away? Maybe, not unless they can't find any sort of fix to the problems he's having.
Couple of positives for George
Go on.
Russell. He seemed to think that they had an understanding of a fix earlier on this morning. The next circuit, Hungary, will be very different. You move away from these kind of massively energetic, high-speed tracks. Hungary's going to be all about how they can handle the cars in the mid-corner, so he's going to get a reprieve from the pure energy, efficiency losses that he's seen. It's really here, and Silverstone, places like Baku later in the year might be a problem if they can't get it sorted, but Hungary's not going to be a track that punishes the car in quite the same way.
I think personally, I think being in this low is a really good thing for him. I mean, for this year it's not, but for the long term, he's come to realization that things need to get better. I think when it started the season, he thought what he was doing was the best out of anybody here, and he was going to win the championship. And he's gone through a process that, you know, you could say it sucks for him, but he's come to a better place. And I think at the moment he wants to rebuild, and he's going to see, he knows there are things he can do better, and he knows the team needs to do things better. And when they put everything together, I think we're going to come out, you know, when you go through stuff like this and you survive this, you come out a much better driver and a more mature person as well.
I think really importantly for George as well, the team have not gone, George needs to step up.
Yeah.
You know, both publicly, which is important, and also when you talk to the team privately, they are acknowledging, okay, there are some things that George could do better, but we acknowledge there is a problem with the car that needs fixing. And for a driver's confidence, that's huge.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Mercedes is very good at helping and managing and looking after the drivers. Mercedes, you never hear them throw the drivers under the bus. Other teams love doing that. They don't. And I think, you know, that's why I think George is a really good fit at Mercedes, because he's such a good team player. You know what I mean? He's all about the team, about building and doing it better. And it's just going through, you know, I mean, you got the pick of Antonelli, and you got yourself a lot of issues and things. If everything is on the same, I think Antonelli still can beat him, but it would have been a really close race, because if George can have the extra, you know, the boost or the overtake boost, I think it would have been a very, very close race between them.
Yeah, we were robbed once again of a battle between the two teammates, weren't we? Where could George Russell have finished? Ultimately, it was a DNF here at the Belgian Grand Prix. The gap now in the world standings, 50 points.
Hello F1 TV friends, it's time to look at the Drivers' Championship after all that chat about it. Kimi Antonelli 204 points, Lewis Hamilton now up to second, George Russell down to third. Charles Leclerc in fourth, then Norris, Piastri, Verstappen, Hadjar, Gasly and Liam Lawson. Not in the points, but he is in the top 10 of the Drivers' World Championship. Then it's Arvid Lindblad, who found himself to 22 points. Franco Colapinto now on 19. Then it's Ollie Behrman ahead of Bortoletto. Next comes Sainz, Albon, Ocon and Alonso. Yet to trouble the scorers. Hulkenberg, Bottas,
Perez and Stroll. Next up, we'll have a look at the constructors. And then it's Mercedes ahead of Ferrari, then it is McLaren in third, fourth Red Bull, and then locked together, 61 points. Alpine still ahead of Racing Bulls thanks to the podium for Pierre Gasly. And then it is Haas, Ferrari ahead of Williams, and then Audi, Aston and Cadillac complete the table. It's been a great weekend on F1 TV. My thanks to the whole team and crew, both on site and at Biggin Hill. And that is how the standings are poised. We go racing again next week in Budapest, but plenty still to unpick from the Belgian Grand Prix.
Welcome back up to the Paddock Club roof. The aerial shots, the views of beautiful Spa-Francorchamps. We'll be coming back here once again. We all hope, of course, one of the great tracks. Let's talk Ferrari, shall we? Because at one point they must have thought, oh yes, we have just to the millisecond made the absolute most of the VSC that was deployed for debris for Charles Leclerc, didn't they? That was timed perfectly, Alex.
Yeah, it worked out beautifully for both of them, didn't it? And Charles Leclerc obviously vaulting up the order. Lewis Hamilton already had the penalty to serve and really had quite a difficult race after that with the front wing level that he wasn't happy with. But I think we always knew that it was going to be difficult to hold off Antonelli. I was actually quite impressed with the pace of Leclerc after he made the pit stop. It was only sort of 2 or 3 tenths a lap. Antonelli was homing in on him, and he managed to hold on for a long time after that.
I think the reason that the gap was smaller is because he had fresher tires. So he's on the right side of the degradation, and he's minimizing the degradation against Antonelli. And I don't think Antonelli was going 10-10. I think Antonelli looked, he could get 3 tenths a lap, and okay, 3 tenths a lap. I'm there in 6 laps. I got 15 to go. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy when you have the upper hand. You just and the thing is, when you start catching them slow, and you're Charles, you look and it's only 3 tenths. I need to find 3 tenths, and you start pushing more, and you start burning the tires more, and you start hustling more and causing more issues. So, and it's interesting because Charles said actually, when he got past, then he started having problems with the recovery and the engine braking and everything. And the problem is when you're pushing so hard, you're burning the tires off, and the grip level and the chances of the car making mistakes is when you have fresh tires, you have a lot of grip and you can be really aggressive on all the systems. And it covers a lot of the problems. Is when the tires become on the limit and the grip becomes really low, everything that is not fine-tuned 100% becomes an issue.
Earlier on in the weekend, Ferrari was saying they weren't sure how they were going to race due to energy, due to deployment. Let's hear, though, from team boss Fred Vasseur. He's with Chris.
Fred, second place for Charles to back up the win at Silverstone. Just how pleased are you with the fight that you put up against Kimi Antonelli today?
Well, I think overall it's a very strong result for the team that we were not expecting this kind of result in Silverstone and Spa due to the layout of the tracks. And we had good results. I think overall as a team, with a good job, good execution, good strategy, good pit stop. Even today we have the incident, but it's another story. But overall it went pretty well, and I think it's important for the rest of the championship.
What do you put that performance down to then, if you weren't expecting it? Where have you been stronger than you thought you would be?
I think on the chassis side, we are doing a strong job, that we are bringing upgrades. It's paying off, and it's small step, but small step by small step, we are catching up. But we know with our package where we are weak and where we are strong. It means that we'll have better weekend for sure. But it's not given also. That means that we don't have to arrive on the next weekend thinking that it will be easy, because it's never easy. Everybody will push, everybody will bring upgrades, and let's see.
Well, it was second and fourth at the flag. It could have been a double podium, but for the penalty that Lewis got. What did you make of that incident?
I think it's mega harsh, because that lap one so far into the season, there was no penalty. And if you have a look on the on the corner that Russell had enough space on the left-hand side. That it's not that he was close to the wall. That it means that I think it's more a race incident for me, and this cost us a lot.
Thank you, Frank.
For a man who had one of his worst weekends in Ferrari colours not long ago, Charles Leclerc has definitely turned his season around. P1 in Silverstone, a P2 here, a fight with Kimi Antonelli, bringing him close, almost there, or holding on through to the final lap. But the contact with Charles Leclerc, with Oscar Piastri that ultimately brought out the VSC that they then benefited from, he wasn't penalised for in the same way that Lewis Hamilton got the 5-second penalty for the contact with George Russell. Racing drivers, why?
As he's far enough ahead, when you have the position, when you're the car passing, you need to be next to it, at least to the mirror. The tire needs to be at least to the mirror of the driver for the other driver to respect your room.
So the guideline is if you're in a straight line with overlap, you need to give racing room.
You know what's the problem? The racing room is a car width. And when they contact, this car width was still there. It was tight, but it was there. That's the problem. The rule doesn't say you need to give a car width and 20 inches so they don't touch. The rule says it's a car width. So it's a really gray area. And come on, let's be honest. Where the hell was he going?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going around the outside of him, but...
And especially half a car back before the break. And if you're in position, you attack, but there...
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult move around the outside, but even still, we've seen big aerial crashes in Formula One. That's what those rules are to defend against, because the problem is when you get a tyre behind another tyre, you get the reverse contact and they fly up in the air. Again, I'm going to disagree with the stewards twice today, unfortunately. I'm surprised that one wasn't penalised. For me, it's a car's width.
I did TV and I said, oh, that's not a penalty. The guy's too far ahead. He shouldn't be there.
For me, it's a car's width to the white line.
So put it this way. Logic says it should be a penalty. And the problem is you shouldn't be playing chicken at over 200 miles an hour. I'm sorry, but the rules allows it to. That's the problem.
In any case, you can look at it, you can say there was a little bit of contact. Who's the victim, really? But Piastri then carried damage. It looked like it cost him around 4-5 tenths for the rest of the race.
Yes.
And actually, it's a race of what could have been for Oscar Piastri in the McLaren due to that moment, because he clearly lost downforce.
So I've got a question. When you're there and you see their car coming, you're not going to pass. Why would you stay there?
Why would you stay on the outside?
On the outside, have a car back, knowing that it's coming to the braking zone and the guy is squeezing you out. So the problem is, the only way to stop Charles from doing that is having a massive shunt with him. And the next time, he'll give... This is the way I raced. When people race me like that, go have the shunt with him, and you'll see next time how much room he'll give you.
I think you're forcing him to go tighter and therefore compromising his exit. I mean, there's not a lot of place to go in Le
There's nowhere to go there.
But yeah, for me, you need to leave a car's width.
The stewards were certainly kept busy, weren't they? And actually, one decision still with them. Lewis Hamilton, unsafe release. Obviously, we did see the moment with the mechanic in the pit lane. The team assured mechanic is fine, mechanic is okay, but that just compounded what was a difficult day for Lewis Hamilton, because then, of course, front wing not adjusted. He said, well, I can't turn the car. Not the day for Lewis Hamilton. P4, but we'll keep abreast if there are any penalties served after the race. That one's still being investigated, and Ferrari have been summoned. You mentioned McLaren.
I want to say something else about that crash, about the contact with Oscar. The problem with the stewards, in my opinion, and I don't want to go against them, because I actually agree there shouldn't be a penalty, is, and to your point, it should, if the accident would have happened, then it would have been a massive penalty. And the accident didn't happen because Oscar got out of the way. And that's where it's wrong.
May I ask you about McLaren? We'll move.
Yes, sorry.
We'll move. No, absolutely fine. That's what the discussion is for. On McLaren, though, coulda, woulda, shoulda for Norris, and that slow stop for him. Why he didn't pit under VSC when Ferrari went in, even though it wasn't in the hard tyre window. But we were questioning it, weren't we, Alex?
Lando actually drove a great race.
Brilliant weekend for him.
They started him on the hard tyre, and then, as you correctly say, found himself out of the VSC window. Could he have pitted anyway? maybe. And then a pace on the medium compound was there. Unfortunately, the pit stop was also slow, costing him a number of seconds. So he could have been further up the order today. Piastri carried the damage. McLaren will come away from this thinking we had a car representative, maybe third and fourth, and we finished in the middle of the top 10.
They did, but I think possibly better than they anticipated. Lando Norris coulda, woulda, shoulda. Would he have won if he'd been P3? More analysis to come here in Spa. For those of you on F1 TV, let's take a look at some of the content you can enjoy. Here is Off the Grid.
This is an extraordinary location. Espen!
Hello!
Thanks for having me around.
I only recently moved to this place.
Such a lovely place that you've got. You can be my tour guide today, mate.
Yep.
What a part of the world to live in.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, here we are. Oh, my gosh.
It's like a proper moto track.
Ah, I was slightly quicker than you.
No.
Oh.
It was my last chance.
You don't make friends on track. I knew that it was going to be a pretty big story.
You can't make enemies this early in your career.
Such a great experience getting thrown in at the deep end.
So that was quite a lot for you to deal with.
I think we just asked too much of him too soon.
People wrote me off too quickly. I will always remember that one. It's quite crazy, no? Now this is what everyone really wants to see. How well can Oscar Piastri park?
That looks a lot of fun, Lawrence Barretto, and how wonderful to see the drivers relaxed at home. Scan that QR code, you can register, and here is the content that you can watch, including Off the Grid. The cool down room, Jolyon Palmer's analysis, breaking down all the big moments, Chasing the Dream, following F2, Tech Talk, and all the Porsche action as well. Keep it right here in the post-race show, though. For now, we are going to be taking a closer look at all that's happened today in Belgium. Welcome back to this great venue, and the fans here will be delighted. A podium for Max Verstappen. I think he maximised all he could today, and a pretty remarkable P6 for Isaac Hadjar from P21 on the grid. Let's hear from the Red Bull drivers.
Hi Max, well, it looks like it didn't quite work out with the timing of the VSCs today for you. P3 at the end of it, what's the overriding feeling?
I mean, overall, it's been, I think, a good race. Yeah, a little bit unlucky with the VSC compared to Charles, but the rest, just trying to do my race, some little balance limitations. But yeah, for us in the weekend, it was quite straightforward to be P3. I think is a good result.
What do you take from the weekend as a whole, the position the team's in?
Well, I hope that we have more weekends like this where it's just a bit more straightforward to work with the car, which was probably, a lot nicer.
Thanks, Max. Well, Isaac, brilliant recovery from the back of the grid. Talk to us about that one today from your side.
Yeah, I mean, we had very strong pace. We're looking for the free air, and honestly, it's the best result we could have achieved today. So, not much to talk about, really. It was just a perfect execution, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, I know it's a different kind of weekend with the grid penalty, but what do you take from it as a whole and heading to Hungary as well?
Yeah, it's frustrating because I feel like if it wasn't for that engine penalty, we should have qualified a bit higher up and then probably fight for a podium. So on that aspect, it's a bit frustrating. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing mixed emotions for Isaac Hadjar because, yes, he's maximised what he could from P21, but if he hadn't started P21, he's ultimately played a brilliant team game all weekend. And do you know what? He heard Belgium, one stop. Nah, give me three. 3 pit stops for him. And what a strategy deployed.
Yeah, it's the race we used to see from the Red Bull second seat when they qualified there. Well, isn't it? Basically, but then
harsh but true.
But today they've got an engine penalty. Hadjar drove a brilliant race, and Red Bull nailed it, I think, on the strategy. So pitting him, hard, medium, hard, and then they ran him all the way to the VSC, and then pitted him for hard again. But to get the compound obligation out of the way at the start of the race, and I say so in jest at the beginning, but I actually think a little bit of practice from those days of getting a car from the back of the field strategically up into contention, because there were phases where the driver in, for whatever reason, in the Red Bull second seat was way out of position, and they're used to putting a car back in the hunt.
And a great day for Racing Bulls as well. Liam Lawson perhaps lacking a little in P12, but for Lindblad, what a race ultimately it was for him.
Yeah, I think especially at the beginning, both of them looked really good. And Lawson looked like he was right there with Lindblad, and I was like, oh my God, they look really good. Bortoleto had a really good strong. Colapinto had a really good race. So I think the race between them was really, really good. And
you feel, though, this isn't a battle just for position.
This is what you're saying, what's his name? George should have done.
I mean, that's the middle of the race, not the first lap.
Yeah, but this is what you're saying George should have done, is miss the corner so it avoid the impact. Not really.
He can go a little bit wider and take the curve. In any case, we're talking about RB.
Sorry.
And they had a great race. Lindblad just got in the points, didn't he? Lawson was outside. Amazing drive from Bortoleto. Those two drivers know, and they've set their stall out now a little bit, RB, with the qualifying challenge in Silverstone, that often they're being measured on their performance for that car moving forward and the benefits of the upgrades that might be coming.
But not just the car, because I don't feel that Racing Bulls battle is just a battle for P9. They know that they've got Solod from F2 waiting in the wings. They know that he's within that Red Bull family. It's a matter of time. Permain said he's next in line.
Yeah, I'm not going to say exactly. The problem is the two guys on the seats are doing a really good job.
For sure, yeah.
So being the next in line doesn't mean you're in next year.
No.
You know what I mean? It means maybe if Max leaves and everything moves up, then there's an opening and he would be the guy taking the opening. And that's the reality of Formula One. You need to pick at the right time when there's an opportunity, and that's the tough reality of Formula One.
Yeah, Liam Lawson will get those upgrades there, and you're right, they are ultimately having a little fun with Alan Permain there. Lindblad with the upgrades. Clearly something's worked there. Liam Lawson will get them next time out. Racing Bulls equal on points now with Alpine. And with Alpine, they enjoyed some battles on track. I think Alex Jakes went to about 15 out of 10 for a triple overtake. Hopefully we can see it again. Here it is, Colapinto, Gasly, the Racing Bulls, brilliant stuff.
Having stood next to Alex Jakes and heard all of his levels, that was about an 8, but to get an 8 out of him, it is very impressive. Look at that, Colapinto goes through and takes the inside line, brilliant stuff.
I think the best bit was it was on the left-hand side of the screen. So on screen, there wasn't much overtaking happening at all, but on the left-hand side, picture-in-picture,
it was like going insane.
Yeah.
That is the nature, though, of a circuit like this, because what you've got there is Colapinto with loads of energy that he's not used because he's not been battling with the two ahead. And so he can use it and make the move down towards Le Camp.
No, I think it's amazing. I think, and the draft, and in a way, it's bringing really good racing. The racing is really good. You need to be so smart about managing the energy. It's not about driving these cars. It's not about going fast only. It's about being so smart and making right decisions.
Honorary mention for Gabriel Bortoleto, as you said,
and
for
the Audi.
Yeah, brilliant points for them. Lindblad in the points as well. All right then, in just a moment, we're going to be building up to Hungary from here at the Belgian Grand Prix. The sun is still shining. We haven't had any rain today for once here in Spa. Hungary next up.
Welcome to Budapest. We've got 20 of the best drivers in the world and a storied circuit.
Welcome to Budapest.
The Hungarian Grand Prix is underway.
Here comes Max.
My word, that is close. What a sight for all those who have made their way in. And there's the late move.
That was even at the break-in.
This is Hungarian Grand Prix.
Lando Norris wins the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Oh, I'm excited for that one. What a beautiful city, what a wonderful venue it is. I can't wait to head there next week. James Hinchcliffe will be joining me for that one. Let's take a look at the schedule, shall we? How things line up for our final race before the Formula One summer break. So 4:30 p.m. for weekend warm-up, and then on to Friday, and we have the 2 practice sessions. We're building up to the first one at 1:10. We're building up to the second at 4:40 p.m. and then through to Saturday for that 3rd hour of practice at 12:10, and then it's qualifying at the Hungaroring, 3:25 p.m. for the pre-qualifying show. Qualifying itself starts at 4 p.m. all of the reaction and analysis in the post-qualifying show after that fight for pole. And that, of course, sets the grid for race day, the pre-race show at 10 to 2. The Hungarian Grand Prix starts at 3 p.m. and the post-race show you do not want to miss here on F1 TV, on Apple TV and on YouTube itself. It's going to be a cracker of a weekend before the summer break. The Belgian Grand Prix done and dusted. Time to look ahead to the Hungarian Grand Prix. Of course, our final one before the summer break. I have many questions. Who's going to be in form? Are we expecting to see Ferrari come stronger to the fore? Will Red Bull get themselves more in the mix? I say this like they haven't been in the mix here, but they also have. And how does George Russell bounce back? Let's go Ferrari first.
I think Ferrari have probably the next best shot of winning a race, because it's not about power deployment, it's about a lot of slow speed, a lot of change of direction, and it's where their car really exceeds. And it's not about tire management, maybe in the race, but in qualifying, that pace, that is how good the car changes direction. The Mercedes has a really good platform. They're very stable, very predictable, but you need a very agile car there, and I think they do have it.
I think in theory it's Ferrari country if they can manage to keep the tyre underneath them. Depends how hot it is. We've seen them struggle in the hotter conditions. Red Bull, it's so hard to predict, and it depends if they get the balance absolutely right for Max Verstappen. So we'll see how that plays out. Should mitigate some of McLaren's drag issues. Maybe a leveler playing field, I would say, in Hungary than we've seen here in Spa.
Yes.
And the gaps were not huge here, so that excites me a lot. George Russell, then, where does he go from here? And we've said this before this season, but once again, he's having to reset himself. You feel this one perhaps hurts the most because, yes, he had an issue with the car, but he couldn't even get out there and race in anger.
More likely he would have finished second or third. He would have been there, he would have been in the podium. And it's the reality of racing. And Antonelli will have the same at some point, so things will level out. It's part of a championship. That's why we come to racing. If we knew what was going to happen, we wouldn't be here. And is the beauty of it. I think George has a good shot of going there and being competitive. And I think it would be good if they can turn that team around before the break, because going into the break and being good is really important.
There's more of a chance of a change of momentum away from these high-load tracks, away from these high top-speed tracks in Hungary than there is between, for example, Silverstone and Spa. George has the opportunity to set the car up differently, to try to steal a little bit of momentum back. But, you know, Kimi's been fast everywhere. And I think that there'll be more interference from the other teams, which will make that more and more difficult. You know, again, in Hungary, if Red Bull play strategy the way they did today, if Ferrari get the same VSC they did today in the middle of the Grand Prix, then you're not going to be passing them in the same way Antonelli did Leclerc. So that's going to be a more difficult strategic time management race for them.
Aston Martin breathing a sigh of relief as well, because they will be getting that upgraded car. What difference will that make? A test of Adrian Newey's leadership at that team. The fan zone behind us has well and truly kicked off. Juan Pablo and I exchanged a look. Should we head down? Sounds pretty fun. It's quite the party here in Belgium. Thank you, Alex Brundle.
Coming on later.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Juan Pablo. Thanks to all of you guys for watching. That was the Belgian Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli has picked up his 6th win. He's extended his lead, and now we move on to Hungary. We will see you there.
Next time in Formula 1.
Welcome to Budapest. And the Hungarian Grand Prix is underway. My word, that is crazy close. Shaping for it, going late, locking up.
That was a Hail Mary and some.
What an enthralling Grand Prix.